Welcome, sinners, to the Cinamen podcast. I'm Chris.
And like always, I'm Nick.
And I'm Tyler.
And I'm Derek.
This week is sadly our final week in October. That means it's our last go for horror movies. I'm kind of sad to see this go, guys. This has been an awesome trip.
It's a little bittersweet. I've watched a lot of horror movies this Halloween. This is actually, in recent years, the most it's ever felt like Halloween to me.
I agree.
Very much so, yeah.
I've watched a lot of people die this month.
Watched a lot of hauntings, watched a lot of people get
you were
gutted.
watching the news.
And so this week, for our final week in October here, we're just a few days short of Halloween. You'll be hearing this after Halloween, actually.
A couple days, not too much. It's like
it's
the
not
second or the third.
Yeah, it ain't like we're too far close to the other holiday. We all chose a horror movie. Not maybe necessarily our favorites, but one we thought...
Well, definitely not my favorite.
Right. One we thought maybe everyone would like to view or watch or listen to us talk about. You know.
Or one that we wanted to revisit, but didn't end up liking it as much as we had the first time we saw it.
That does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
So this week, my movie that I chose the 1986 movie, something like that. Creepshow, directed by George A. Romero from a script by Stephen King. Derek, go ahead. What was your pick this week?
Mine was Poltergeist, the original from 1981, I believe.
82, I think.
81, 82, yeah.
Directed by Tobe Hooper.
Yep, by Tobe Hooper.
yeah.
Who,
Is it Tobe Hooper?
Tobe
Okay,
Hooper.
That's weird. I don't know why he...
Tobe.
Script by Steven Spielberg, among others.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Because
Very much so.
I guess we can get into it later, but I don't know. That just struck me as weird. The whole time struck me as weird.
Yeah, for the longest time, I actually didn't know that he wrote it.
I think I probably called somebody a liar when they said he did, and I was like, good one, nerd.
Like, this guy didn't know
I
Spielberg.
shrugged that guy off so quick.
Yeah, you know he worked on Poltergeist? You're like, shut up.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Nick,
like,
what movie did
remember
you
my
pick this
first
week,
movie?
Nick?
My film was Land of the Dead by George A. Romero, written and directed.
2005, I believe, is
Something like that, yeah.
kind of the fourth in his main go of, fill in the blank of the dead movies.
yeah.
Right. Tyler, what was your pick this week?
I chose Mama, directed by...
But it's
And Andreas Muschietti?
Muschietti, yeah.
Andreas Muschietti, something
Right.
like that. I'm probably butchering it. Produced by
Guillermo del Toro?
Guillermo del Toro, right? I always get the del Toros mixed up.
I'm a del-
Benicio and Guillermo.
Yeah, both of them, they kind of like have the same length.
And I love
everything.
them both.
Like, it's
They're
crazy.
both.
They're both crazy, both good.
Great
they
in
both-
their own way.
Yeah, they both do awesome work.
No relation, I don't think.
No, I don't think
One
so.
is definitely better.
And yeah, it came out in 2013. Interesting. I thought it was. I tried to pick something that was like not anything like the other ones that were chosen, and something a little more recent.
The most recent, at least by a decade, of the second most recent one. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I really enjoyed this movie. What was your favorite movies of this week before we dive into our first review?
I'll take this one. Maybe not story-wise, because I think story-wise probably Poltergeist, like all the way through, was a great pick, but like definitely stylistically Creepshow,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
that's awesome. Cinnamon Nick, what about you?
Okay, so having not seen Creepshow in a while, I do remember really enjoying the film, but I am also a big fan of Land of the Dead. It's just a picture that really sort of nailed the smart move, for a zombie film. I
Right, it's
think.
kind of like the next progressive step of that overall story. Derek, what about you?
Honestly, I was going to say, like, I love three of these films. Die Hard fan, Land of the Dead, Poltergeist, and, of course, Creepshow. Mama was actually surprised me quite a bit. It was actually pretty good. Not my favorite, but I would probably say Creepshow is my favorite.
Creepshow's your favorite one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really was impressed by Mama. I didn't know anything about it going into it. I wasn't fond of the end, which might kind of kill the, to take it a step down from the favorite spot. I don't know. I might say Poltergeist. I love Land of the Dead, but Poltergeist, this is my first time seeing it all the way through. And
Nick, were you the only one that picked yours as your favorite? I didn't pick mine.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's great.
Maybe at the end of the episode, you'll change your mind.
Well, see, I actually put mine at the bottom of the list of the ones we watched this week.
I did state that I have not seen Creepshow in a while, so there is that whole,
right. And
Caveat.
that's got more of a VHS type feel to it.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't even
Episodic.
Starts you off with with kind of a story, and then it dives into all these other ones, and then at the very end it comes back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the only way they're similar. Like
Oh yeah. I'm not saying
It's just got
it's not found
it's just got
footage.
style for days. Like I couldn't believe how much I liked it.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't even like the stories necessarily that I was like a huge fan of. There were a few that like, oh yeah, that's interesting, but like it was definitely the way it was filmed and the sound design was just fucking nuts. So yeah, I was a big fan of Creepshow.
That's awesome. Well, I guess starting off, I don't know, anyone want to take? I guess if we'll go first, like I said, I'll start with Mama.
Mama,
I'll
let's
go
do
with
it.
Tyler's choice. Like I said, okay, so the movie starts off. You have
Spoilers.
Yep, of course. Spoilers, sinners, all the way through. You got Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who, as we know, is Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer on Game of Thrones, which was cool to see him not be him. You see him, and he is leaving his house. He's got his 2 young daughters. He takes them to this remote cabin in the woods, and he's crying. He's having a hard time. Clearly, he's just killed his wife, and
He killed his wife. See, me and Derek were talking about this.
Yeah.
We couldn't.
yeah,
I was
he
kind of
killed
lost
his wife,
at this. So,
right?
Okay, so he killed his wife. Why?
See, well, this is another one of my problems. I don't know that it ever said. It almost makes you overlook that and just forces the story of his brother
okay,
Luke.
so if he didn't kill his wife, you think Mama did?
Well, Derek thought that she
I thought
killed
she.
herself.
Yeah, I thought she committed suicide, and
What?
just like right in front of the kids kind of deal, and that's why he took off with them and was like, "Come on, we gotta go."
I thought I read the
But-
like the.
I thought it was out of guilt because he killed her, or it was like
Yeah, I
Is
thought.
that so? Okay,
like
so
they
he did.
ran
Okay,
to flee the scene.
Yeah, I thought the description on
That-
like
you might be right.
IMDb or something said that he.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's
killed his
just
wife,
kind of
was
how I
going to
took
kill
it.
his family.
I may have had a rough time
Anyway,
with
so
it.
he is in this remote cabin in the woods, and it looks
Well, because he
kinda
crashed.
like-
He crashes the car, and then, right, he runs off the road.
Yeah, and so you don't really know where they're going beforehand, and I think even he says, "I don't know where we're going." They crash. He takes him to his cabin in the woods. They're a little banged up. Tells his daughter to turn around, and he's going to kill her.
Yeah, about to execute
And
him.
I was like, "Oh my god!"
So he's got one daughter who's like 3 or 4.
She's, like, real
or
young,
something,
yeah.
and then there's like an infant, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
I
like
would
a
say almost
several-month-old
5 and
Like-
then 3 if I
yeah, maybe
if I
something like 4 or 5, and then probably 2 or 3,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Not a huge separation.
Yeah, small girl.
So he turns around and he's crying because he clearly does not want to do this, and it's kind of one of those like, oh my god, like, is he about to do this? Like, God, that's an awful thing you'd have to.
What a way to start this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Watching this little girl
And
get
as he
executed.
goes to do it, it's like thrown back.
I think Mama,
Right, or, like,
Mama
dragged
like
back.
snags him and
Yeah.
yanks him back.
You see this kind of like black, misty spirit kind of thing. Take him, do something, I don't know, kill him, I guess, supposedly.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads you off the rest of the intro with like this silhouette shot of this crazy looking witch figure.
Yeah, witch is a good way to describe it. They never
They never
out and
call her that.
Say that she's a witch.
Right. And then you don't get a whole lot of information as to how she becomes that, other than the cliff and the baby, which we'll dive into. Which is another one of
We'll
those
dive
things.
into it?
Yeah, I heard
Oh, bad pun. Sorry. So immediately you see that image of the witch, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, it's one of these movies." So I'm like gripping in the chair, like, "Okay, all right, I'm ready for this," because I'm going in blind here.
Yeah, which is interesting. So you knew nothing about this before
I
you
knew
watched it.
I knew the characters that were in it. That was it.
That's the same way I went into Creepshow. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't ask you what it was about. That's the best thing about the podcast is I know I have to watch these movies.
Yeah.
So it's like I could ruin
I didn't read
I could
about
ruin
it.
it by, watching trailers and reading about it, but it's just way more fun to just go in completely blind and you
yeah.
just get what you get.
And it was for me, it was pretty worth it. So the rest of the movie, it's basically the dude Nikolai Coster-Waldau plays. It's one of those he plays himself and a twin. Think Parent Trap, but horror wise, I guess. And so it's been like 5 years, and the daughters and the brothers' bodies have not been found.
See, I think it's weird that they're still looking 5 years later.
It's kind of one of those he just assumes like foul play is in it. So bodies are never found. A semi-normal thing in today's world, right? People disappear all the time. But like he has this huge map and it's like zoned out, and he's got, I don't know, 2 or 3 dudes that go out and like search these zones. Like, oh, we're gonna search Sector 7
Well,
again.
he's been dumping his own money into
Yeah.
this effort, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Wouldn't you? I
No.
mean,
Yeah,
it's his
I mean,
It's his niece and nephew. It's not even his kids.
Oh,
And,
right. And if no bodies are found, how can you know? Like, what if they're just out there, like in this, waiting to be saved?
But
Well,
they're too
yeah.
young to live on their own. They could not have. They couldn't make
Well,
a fire.
obviously, in
They
this-
couldn't catch
in
rabbits.
this scenario. It's obviously very.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. It's family. I totally get it. I'm just saying, like, right off the bat, he's just like,
Yeah,
foul
I know.
play.
I guess if my
You know,
kids go,
yeah,
missing,
I'm
you
looking
won't
for
be
these
chasing
guys.
them.
Well, if your kids go missing, I'm going to look, but not for 5 years.
Well, geez,
thanks.
Tyler. Gosh.
I'm sorry, I don't think that there's going to be some mystical witch in the woods that like comes and turns them into feral animals, essentially. Which is definitely a strong point in this movie. I think the little girls do great.
Oh, the little girls are awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, they were
They know it.
terrifying.
And the direction of this movie was awesome as well.
Like even I think the hardest part to play is the youngest girl, who once they do end up finding her, because they do find the girls. They're both very animalistic. You know, they found
They're
their
feral.
animality
It's
in
been,
the
it's been 5 years,
in the
absolutely no human
Yeah.
contact.
And
So
they
they-
almost stick to the shadows.
Yeah, they lose their speech. The one was old enough that it kind of comes back to her after a while, but the youngest one never really regains.
She's kind of
Which I don't know if I don't think she could speak when she got stuck out there.
No, I don't think she said anything.
Yeah, I don't think
That's
she did
why
anything.
she didn't really have any.
Yeah, I mean, like a child's brain does the most growing at like those ages, and she basically missed
Some
Yeah,
prime
yeah.
real estate of
like
learning
the
and
whole
growing, yeah.
shebang of learning life.
And
I
it
guess
seemed like they lived off of what, just like cherries,
Cherries and moss.
because there was just like a pile of cherry pits when they found them.
Oh, that was cherry pits. Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
'Cause the
It
guy
showed
said
it real
something.
quick, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" So I couldn't. But yeah, I guess it was cherry pits. So basically, to set up the rest of the story, he finds them, or his two buddies find the cabin,
Yes.
find the chicks. They find the two girls. You know, they take them to the hospital, kind of get them sorted out with some psychiatric help and stuff. Jessica Chastain, gorgeous redhead in real life, plays.
See, I think she looks better with the dark hair in this movie.
She did look really good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no denying that.
Whoa, you guys think she looked good in this movie?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
was
I don't
like,
know. I don't know
Red hair
about.
is way better.
I was gonna say I don't know how I like the
I
chop.
said she looks good. I'm all for the redheads.
Well, I love redheads too, but you
Yeah.
know.
This
I don't know, man. It was good.
Is it her hair? Is it a wig? I didn't like it.
I think it was a wig.
I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. I was like, damn. And she's playing like
Well, I just like the punk
bass
rock,
guitar in a
you
punk
know.
band.
Yeah,
And
she's
I was
like a Joan Jett
Oh yeah,
type.
she's like a Joan Jett
I
punk
didn't like
rocker.
her lead singer in her band though. He didn't sign up for this, babe. Like she even had like the deep voice of like,
Yeah.
I'm a punk rock chick.
And you don't know how long they've been together, but they're living together. So I mean, you're assuming to
her
assume
and her boyfriend.
right, her and Nikolai Coster-Waldau. And so they get the girls, and they keep talking about this figure, Mama. They keep talking about Mama.
The girls, yeah, the little girls. Do.
Right. And they have their defense because the wife who was either murdered by his twin brother or killed herself, her mom wants the two girls. She feels, I guess, that she deserves them because
She thinks she's more responsible,
and they don't have kids, have never raised any.
but in my opinion, you know,
She's well off.
you spend 5 years looking for the kids. I think you deserve at least a shot. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
bitch wasn't out in the
absolutely.
woods,
You know.
looking for 5 years.
Yeah, she didn't chunk any money into it.
And so they win custody and they get to take the girls home, and this is where shit starts to get weird.
Well, the only reason they get to take the girls home is because they agree to stay in a house provided by the researchers, the
I
psychological.
thought it was like his lawyer, and then it kind of turned into like a.
No, he wasn't the lawyer. He was.
Oh, he was like the
he was doing the
psychiatrist
yes,
evaluating
he
the
was-
girls.
Yes,
Right.
correct. And he gave them a house to live in for free, so he could keep in contact with the girls and study them.
Right.
Because how often do you find like girls that are essentially raised in the wild?
And he
Yeah.
kind of gets drawn into this mama concept, and it's like he doesn't tell them, Jessica Chastain and Nikolai Coster-Waldau, kind of what they've been discussing in their sessions. And so you almost think like it was like a secret motive, like, yeah, get this house so we can do this. Also, I just want access to these girls because I'm going to keep asking about this weird figure.
yeah, who is Mama?
And he thinks for the majority of the movie that the oldest daughter is Mama, is kind of suffering from this dual personality
Yeah, she took on the role of the mother.
for her and her little sister.
Yeah.
And so shit starts happening, and one of my favorite parts of the movie was there's this shot where Jessica Chastain is coming
I know
up the
exactly
left
what
on
you're
the
talking
hallway.
about. Me and Derek already talked about this.
Laundry basket, and on the right hand of the screen, it's almost like around the corner, you can see the youngest girl playing in a room. The door's open, you see her playing in a room.
She's almost playing like tug of war with the sheet.
Right. And you think it's to the sister, you know?
Yeah, you think the two
You're like,
sisters
"Oh,
are playing
no big
tug of
deal."
war in the room.
And all of a sudden, behind Jessica Chastain out from like a bedroom door or something, the oldest sister walks out, and you're just like, what
So yeah, like
the hell is going on? Oh my, like I was like, oh my God, like this movie freaked me out, you know, because we were talking about Blair Witch, how there, I don't know, should have been a witch, and this one provided that, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. So just that whole shot, because like she's standing there and she almost goes in the room.
there was actually a couple of those, I think, where like there was another shot, I think, where she heard the two girls playing. No. What happened?
Where she told her not to go in the
Something
closet.
about the breakfast.
Oh,
Like,
that one?
come down. She's hungry.
Yeah. She tells she thinks she sees the one crouching in the corner under the sheet.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Come down to
"Time eat,"
breakfast.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she says something about Lily's hungry. And then like by
Implying
the time
that-
she turns around, the creature is like
Slinking
the
into
door is like all real, all slinky like
Yeah.
into the closet and just like shuts the door. And Jessica Chastain is left standing there like an idiot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
And it's weird that she didn't look in the closet.
She definitely like was. I'm gonna complain about her later. Continue.
well, I'm just saying. So shit is start happening. They're continue. Nikolai Coster-Waldau. I forget.
Mama pushes him over the balcony in the house.
Okay, this is one of the issues I had. He goes to look at this like black rotting hole kind of in like the middle of his hallway wall or something, and it's something that was also at the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this was like, if you have this mark in your house, like that evil witch mama is there, or
And it was in the kid's closet too.
yeah. So it's kind of, it doesn't really explain this.
Maybe that's her point of entry. I guess?
Yeah, it's when it doesn't almost like a almost, I feel like a portal to the cabin
portal, yeah,
sounds
maybe.
weird because it's not.
It's
used
definitely
like
maybe
that.
a portal to like the other world, like
Yeah.
her world, maybe.
And
like
maybe
spirit
she
so-
world,
moves through the shadow.
He goes and looks at it, and then
The upside down.
she like clearly like
comes out.
almost you see like hands come out, wrap around, and like jump out, scare him, and he falls over, and goddamn, he lands on those stairs
Dude,
hard, man.
I
Oh.
thought he was dead.
Yeah, for
Like-
sure. I was like, you are so lucky you didn't snap your
Well, if he
neck.
would-
Yeah.
break
If
your
he would have
back.
died, though, she would not have kept the children.
No, she would not have got to keep the children.
No, she wouldn't have wanted to keep the children.
Yeah, she
Well, I
was
don't-
very
she was very
anti,
resistant.
Yeah,
well,
she was
her
very
and him aren't
anti-kids.
married. I don't know that she would have got to keep them at all, like legally.
Yeah, but she would not
Because
have
I
lost
think
any
she
sleep
would-
over
custody
it.
was
yeah, she
granted
wouldn't
to
have-
him,
she would've
not
gave
her.
her right up.
It's only her because she's with him.
Yeah, she
You know
had to
what I'm
leave her
saying?
band and
Yeah, so she sacrificed a lot, and I totally understand where she was like, "This ain't my job. I didn't sign on for this." Because especially, okay, you got your boyfriend helping you raise these two girls, and all of a sudden he's gone, and you're like, "Oh shit, I know nothing about being a mom. These girls are not average."
Not only does she not want to be a mom, but now she has to be a mom to two feral dogs.
right, and
Essentially.
only one really talks.
Yeah.
And they're both
One really smart dog, and then
and
like
they kind of don't really. It seems like they don't get along, or maybe the girls just choose not to convey that kind of love, and then you find out later on that they don't convey that kind of love to her because Mama is always watching.
that's why Victoria doesn't. Lily just doesn't like her.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just one girl, two girls, it's not the same, you know.
Red girls, blue girls.
Yeah, you know. And so shit starts happening, and I don't know. I had a few minor problems with this, like that hole in the wall. You find out that the oldest daughter tells the psychiatrist guy, Dr. Dreyfus, I think was his name,
right.
this story of this woman who escapes like a mental asylum or a hospital for sad people, I think is how she phrased it. Mm-hmm. She ran with her baby. You don't know whose baby it is. And to escape, she throws the baby off this cliff.
Yeah, because
And then
you got to get the baby down first.
Right. And then she, goes in after the baby.
Like
And just, like, it's like a branch sticking out of the cliff. And she just, boom, face smashes all over it. You don't know why she's running away. You don't know whose baby it is.
See, that's one thing I really didn't like was the sequence where they show her running to the cliff.
It's all like, it looked like a video game, like point of
It
view
was
style.
very stylized, but not in a pleasing way, at least in my opinion.
Right. And so they have told Dr. Dreyfus' story, and he's kind of like, how could you possibly know the story? And they don't really give him an answer, so he pulls out some case records or something, and there's nothing within the last few recent years that matches this. But there's one, what'd you say, from like
18 something.
1839 or
Yeah.
some crazy shit like that. Well over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it matches his story, and he kind of gets more involved with the girls, and he basically makes the trips to the cabin, and I don't remember how exactly he... Oh, that's where they found, I guess. He's just like, I'm going to go back there and find him because presumably this mama creature stayed there with him. Mm-hmm. And he goes there, and like he is just like the most unscared guy of all. Like,
Right?
he just walks in there, no problem. He's like checking shit out, and he's not even like quiet and cautious. And, you know, mama, you know, kind of does her thing and kills him or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Well, he does get scared at one point. Like, he goes to visit the girls, I think, and then...
when he's watching on the laptop,
No,
because that was kind of a cool part too.
where
he
she
gets-
kind of looks up and he like kind of sits there and
He's
freaks
watching
out.
this recorded session of them, and like she's talking about mama, and she like looks up, almost like you're looking at someone, you know, like you're looking at someone
right in
behind
the
him.
corner. Yeah.
And he kind of rewinds it back, and he pauses it on there, and he's kind of got this feeling like,
Somebody's watching.
yeah. So he kind of looks up where her eyes are looking, and nothing's there. And the whole time this movie, like I just thought something was going to happen at every turn. Like I was like, oh my god, is something's going to pop out? Nope, okay.
See, and that
Okay,
was the one
we're
thing I didn't like about him. When he goes to their house and he's talking to him, he's like, you know, he's doing their little session. And then that black spot thing comes out of the wall. He gets up and he's like, I'm out of here. Goes out of there. Doesn't
That's
even
what
tell
yeah.
them what's going on.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, he doesn't even talk to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And he just buggies out of there. And he's like, no, I got to go. See you later. And just,
And that's when he goes to the cabin.
yeah, and that's when he goes
Oh,
and
yeah,
figures
okay.
everything out.
And yeah, that was pretty shitty of him to be like, well, I'm out of here. I'm not going to tell. Like, doesn't wish her good luck. Doesn't, you know, maybe say, hey, you might want to call someone because some shit's going on. He dies. Jessica Chastain has a few really close moments with, you know, close.
Running into mama.
Oh, yeah, running
Almost
into mama.
running into mama.
Like, when she goes in there and she, like, the kids are playing at, like, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And she clearly heard a third voice. You know, and she's like, you know, who you guys talking to? And they both kind of, like, weirdly look at the closet. And she goes to open it, and, they're both like, no, don't do it. And then, you know,
And then she listens to him, which is weird.
Yeah, who's in the closet?
I'm the adult. You don't tell me not to go in your
Nobody.
closet.
And then she
This is
just,
my closet.
Closes it.
yeah, just closes it. And it's like, if you have this suspicion someone is in your house, coming to see your daughters or whatever, and you don't, you know, go check out what it is, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that just seems like bad. I know you don't want a parent, but that just seems like bad parenting. Like,
It seems like that's a common thread through horror movies is like, you know certain things wouldn't happen, but to keep the story going, you kind of have to suspend disbelief, which is a little bit annoying because it seems like there are movies that do it right to where people make logical decisions, but it's rare.
right, I agree. Overall, though, I thought this movie was awesome. Like I said, it freaked me out hardcore. She was a scary-looking witch-type lady, and you don't really know why she comes back as a witch anyways. Like, doesn't say if she was, like, involved in some witchcraft or, like...
Just
you
a
know,
vengeful spirit.
Nothing
something.
like, oh, you
I
know...
didn't like how you found out about her through like weird dreams that she gives you or something.
That was weird,
So
too.
I had a major problem with that.
Yeah, like I said, this is the movie that I picked, and I definitely liked it less than the previous times I've seen it. Like, I remember watching it and being like, I should have picked Orphan, because that was another one I was
Orphan's
considering.
good, yeah.
Orphan is a good movie.
That is a good movie.
But it almost doesn't seem like a horror movie. It's almost more of a thriller. Like
Yeah,
I
more,
agree, yeah.
more of a
This
suspense.
one gave me like a suspenseful, like supernatural thriller vibe.
I agree with you that it was creepy. Its stuff was also done really well. The shots were set up real well and executed well. I didn't like Jessica Chastain in this, and not just her looks.
well, she's got an attitude the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't like.
She's pretty
I
snarky.
didn't like her character. I felt like she was like too big a name for this movie. I don't know if that sounds weird.
I kind of thought that too.
Like I was like, why are you in this movie?
Like, you just
she's in a
wanted-
lot of high caliber stuff.
you just wanted the experience of doing a horror movie.
Yeah, and I was like, and I get this was like a few years ago, so like maybe she wasn't blooming then,
Right.
and maybe this was even filmed before and like had sat on the shelves for a while, you know, Cabin in the Woods style. Who knows? But so I was kind of bothered by her. Like I felt like they could have gotten somebody with a lower name and done a better job, even if they were playing a shitty character.
Right.
I was excited to see Jamie Lannister because who's not? I just wish that he was in better movies also. I guess.
I agree.
The girls were awesome.
Yeah, if there's
They both
if there's
killed it.
any like really good parts about this movie, it's that the girls did really well.
Yeah, even the
Yeah.
little one, the way she looked, the way she
Like
didn't look.
Yeah, she's
like-
got the hardest part to play. She has to play a human that's not human necessarily,
Right.
And I don't know, it's just believable like that. I feel like if a human was raised in the wild, essentially, that's how they would act.
This director, by the way, is the guy that's doing The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
No,
Isn't this
no,
him?
it's Alex. He was going to do The Mummy. It's Kurtzman now. Alex Kurtzman. He's doing. Andreas Muschietti did. Oh man, just like something that came out last year. Because he was going to do The Mummy.
Looks like he's
doing
director
It.
of It. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's doing
It. I'm sorry. It is
That's
the
right.
one he's doing.
I think
You're
he
right.
dropped The Mummy to do It. Sadly,
Shadow of the Colossus as well. It looks like he's set to direct.
like that old
No.
PlayStation game or something.
God.
It says it's announced.
See,
It is in
I know Josh
post-production.
Trank was attached to that at one point
Yeah,
too.
well, Trank was a little whiny bitch with Fantastic
Yeah, so
Four.
It that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Another
pretty
horror
cool.
movie. This is your shot, man. He could maybe, I guess he's going from a source material there.
Like,
This
okay,
is-
you got
I'm so tired of
you
it.
got a very cool
Adaptations
original
of-
story here with
or, like,
Mama.
remakes.
Now you get an adaptation that's what I think is pretty
the
scary.
hard
in
part
itself.
is done. It's all
Yeah.
concepted for you.
Right.
You just need to show us what the TV mini series, whatever it
Yeah.
was, didn't.
I
For the most part.
really like this movie up until the ending. I thought kind of the like shit happening on the cliff. And I get you want to go back to the cliff because it's been mentioned you're not, so obviously you want to revisit
It was a little
that.
much.
It just seemed like too big of a finale for something that was so kind of low key.
Low-key, yeah.
I would have preferred something going on in the cabin, like, because gives her the chance to be like creepy, shadowy, like, the stuff with like the flashlights and like the camera blasting, that big light on the camera and it takes the
Yeah.
psychiatrist guy. That's freaky. The cliff thing, you got too much focus
It's
on the
too
witch.
try to be too emotional.
Yeah.
I do like that we didn't get a happily ever after.
I agree.
That's the one redeeming fact of the ending. I like that the little girl didn't come back.
Yeah.
I mean, it was sad because it was like, clearly she's been brainwashed. Like,
right.
this is her mom.
5 years with Mama.
Yeah.
Versus her 2 or 3 generously, with that number.
With her real parents.
Yeah. So she's almost doubled the amount of time.
And those
with them.
years, there's no way she remembers.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
So that is her.
I get it, but I hate it.
So-
It sucks. But it's a twist.
Yeah.
It's a curve.
I was going to ask you, what was up with like the baby that they gave her?
It's the remains of the baby
This
that
is the
she
dead
threw out the
baby.
cliff.
How the hell did they get it?
No, it's decomposed by now. That's
Yeah, no, that she got it, and she's like, she
That's
had it, and
dust.
she started to like do her deal, and then she like, freaks out, realizes it isn't what it is.
and then she like
she
throws it, which
and
was a
it
cool
just-
shot.
Nothing but bones. Yeah, which is fine. I was just like, what the hell was the point
That
of
was a cool shot. Like you don't see like, oh, it's this, head and rib cage and bone. It's like this thing is in pieces.
Yeah, that
this
thing
thing
was
is so decomposed.
And-
She's unsatisfied. I don't know, like sad with herself that this thing is dead because it's like, bitch, you're the one to blame. You threw him
Well,
off.
she
You
was
didn't.
clearly crazy. I mean,
Maybe just a little bit.
And I definitely didn't get the whole moth bit at the very end when they fall.
I
was
think
like,
it's just to insinuate that she was
Nearby.
there or nearby or something was going to happen. Like kind of in horror movies, like if there's like a black crow or something,
Oh,
like
when the little one was eating the moths, I was like, oh god, like those big,
Yeah,
like kill you size moths.
the moths that
big-
you see in like
big moths that just.
Silence of the Lambs, those big mothers.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
I was like,
She's
that
like
was-
eating some, and like the neglectful like uncle and whatever, just kind of like that's fine.
There's a few things that happened where I was just like, maybe you should look at your kid right now.
It's
Well,
like, maybe
there's-
you should have given them to the other girl.
well, there's evidence to show that I think humans used to eat bugs.
Well, yeah, they're all
So,
chock
like,
full
I don't
of
know.
protein anyway.
Yeah,
so
they're-
I'm above that.
I'm not gonna
They're
do it.
not necessarily bad
We're,
for you.
I
My
think that was
diet doesn't
before we
allow
were
it.
Homo sapiens. We are adults. We're all
Homo
evolved
erectus.
now. And so I just thought the cliff battle, like it. I liked that you only occasionally saw the witch, but then like the little cliff thing, it just gave you so much focus, it lost its scariness to me.
She was just floating there, like
Yeah.
majority of the time. I was like,
Floating,
come on.
and she's got like discontorted face, which is again creepy, and like her hair's all witchy flowy, and
Yeah,
she's
you
got
might
the
be
long,
right. Like we get a little too much of her.
the long fingers and stuff, which is exactly what we wanted with Blair Witch, like we were talking about, and so that was cool. But it started to focus too much on her. It lost its
Yeah.
scariness.
Less
It
is
definitely
more.
turned from horror to like emotional suspense at
Yeah.
the end. You want to wrap this one up and move to the next one and do
Yeah.
a rating?
So out of 10, I guess I will go first. The ending kind of brings it down a little bit for me because, like I said, I thought it was just too much for such a low key movie. I'm probably gonna give this one like a 7.
I'm probably gonna go. I feel bad because it's the movie that I picked, but I'm gonna go 6. I really enjoyed it. A lot of the visuals and the shots were good. The acting was good by the little girls, but just overall the story was a little weak, and some of the effects just didn't hit me the right way, I guess.
What about you, Nick?
I am sitting at a 6 as well. I have seen this before, and while I agree it is scary, like it does have its shining moments, but it did not. It's also not my typical forte of horror. So I had that. It had that going against it, and it went against it. So it's getting a 6.
I'm gonna give it a 7. Okay. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's just like nitpicky things like the end and stuff. Just brought it down just a wee bit. But
I actually thought this one was the scariest of our 4 choices this week. So I'll give props to Cinamen and Tyler for picking this one.
yeah,
But I'm looking forward to his next. Obviously it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, so stoked for it.
I'll definitely see it.
Your Stranger Things kid is in it. So Mike.
yeah, the guy who plays
Oh my
Mike.
God.
The main kid.
I'm
Stranger
excited
Things?
now.
Yep.
I think he plays Richie Tozier.
Oh,
I
nice.
think.
Beat
I think.
Richie. Yeah. Nice. And so next one, our next film, I think we'll. I don't tell you. Want to dive into Creepshow?
I would love to.
All right. Okay, so like we said, this kind of has a VHS vibe where there's multiple stories going on. Wow, this has a lot of horror
Like icons?
alums, horror alums in this. It starts off you just hear the guy from Halloween 3, the shitty Halloween 3.
Tom Atkins?
He's in The Fog, right, with Jamie
Yep.
Lee Curtis and them. You just hear him yelling at his kid over reading like a horror comic book.
And that's not a real comic book thing, is it?
Well, I think this is based off a comic book from like the 50s, but I don't think the comic book he was reading is a
Because
real
Stephen
comic
King
book.
had something to do
Well,
with this, right?
He wrote the screenplay.
I was gonna say he wrote the screenplay explicitly for this movie. For what I am to understand, like Tales from the Crypt is actually a genuine comic line from
was it
way.
written?
Yeah,
Tales from the Crypt?
Tales from the Crypt is an actual comic line.
It did have a
I
Tales
don't
from
think
the
Creepshow
Crypt
is,
vibe. It did have
Yeah.
a Tales from the Crypt vibe.
and it very did.
But
and,
it was way... See, what this does right for me isn't story. It's all visual effects. Not like visual effects, but like practical effects, great sound design.
the
Like,
things that make a movie.
It was very campy, though. Like, a lot of the acting was very campy, like cheesy, but like good at the same time.
It's of its time, for
very
sure.
much so.
Like, it's definitely a piece of art where I feel like some film is just like, oh, here's some dialogue and some shots. This
Right.
was just like oozing with style.
So he's yelling at his kid. He tears his comic from his hand, goes outside, throws it in the trash, and the kid is left there. It's like a stormy night, of course, and like all of a sudden, this like I don't know,
the creeper
the
shows up.
creeper, I guess, on the cover of this comic book shows up like outside his window, and the kid is just like not even scared. He's like smiling at this thing, right? Like some creepy evil music is playing, and the gang like points at the comic book, and you kind of dive into the first story, which was
Father's Day.
Most boring one of all of them.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the weaker one
Weakest
out of the
one.
story. Out of stories.
Yeah, I might give it that one.
Because like that opening like sequence, I was like, oh, this is different. I can't wait to see where are we at now? Okay, I guess we're in a different story. Let's see what happens.
And
then
it focuses on this like very uptight, posh family. Ed Harris is actually in it. I guess he's kind of like the only one not part of the family. He's married and dating
he's married in.
the granddaughter or something, and they're talking about this woman who's on their way to meet them, who supposedly killed her father because he was kind of like a prick. And it kind of shows flashbacks to him, and he's like banging his cane on his chair, asking for his Father's
Birthday
Day cake or birthday cake or
Oh, yeah,
something,
his
and he's
Father's
like,
Day cake.
"You bitch, where's my cake?
Oh, I do.
You
remember that.
bitch!" Like, and like the racking of his cane on the chair is enough to be like, I might have killed him.
that's
I
what
might
I'm
have
talking
killed him.
about. Like the sound is just like
She's in
so
her
powerful.
She's
you
in her
know?
kitchen making the cake, like literally putting icing on the cake, and like she's just going nuts, and she's crying, and finally just goes out there with like this
Ashtray, marble ashtray.
which, if you noticed, appeared in the other ones.
I didn't notice that. No.
Well, I know
really?
it appeared in 2 other ones, yeah. And so she bashes him over the head with this thing and kills him, and he's buried, whatever. And so she's on the way there, and she shows up at the house, but doesn't go inside. She goes to this graveyard that's presumably right out your back door. And she's
People
talking
do
to
that,
his
though.
grave,
That's a thing
and
people do.
she's like mocking him, and talking about how he was an asshole. And lo and behold,
He doesn't like that very much.
yeah, it's enough to bring him back from the dead. So he claws out, and it's this cool zombie effect, right? It's not like anyone in a mask. Like you see worms eating this thing and maggots, and he's crawling out, and he kills whatever her name was.
Bedelia.
What's a bedelia? Okay, I know
That's the worst thing about short stories is like I don't retain names.
yeah, that's unfortunately it. And so it's nighttime, and the family is like who's waiting on her. Her car's out front, and so Ed Harris walks out there to take a smoke break because they're waiting to eat for her. Goes out there and he goes out to the graveyard and he sees her body, and he like one of those like oh shit like trips into this hole in the ground, and this headstone is like starts sliding like towards him, and he had plenty of time to move, but like an idiot he just like stops.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I kind of feel where he's coming from because you don't know what's moving the thing. Essentially, if you try to move out of the way, maybe it'll just go faster and push it on your head.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I would
every
still
time
take
he moved,
the chance.
it was moving.
Yeah,
but as soon as
so-
he stopped, like he just laid there, it didn't move.
I would have gave it the old like dodge left, go right. Oh, probably not. I probably would have died. So anyway, he
Juke
lays
the
there.
ghost.
Headstone smashes him like a freaking idiot.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to go like 100% blow by blow because there's a lot of stories in this one.
Okay. Anyways, this thing comes in to the house.
It starts taking out all the family.
Yeah, it takes the whole family. Oh, it takes one more member. Oh, it takes the maid, and who is I guess preparing the meal. The old lady who is
I'm assuming
Bedelia's
that's
sister.
that's his sister or her cousin or some sort.
She
I
goes
don't
in
know.
there. She gets killed. Ed Harris's girlfriend and her like dick ass brother walk into the kitchen where there's like muddy footprints and like this thing's like I got my cake and it's like it's like the Father's Day cake with the sister's head on it, and it's like and then it goes kind of cuts to like these comic booky
With the frames.
Yeah.
That's the one effect that I didn't like.
I thought it had kind of a cool vibe to it.
It was
like,
cool. Some of them were cool, and then it just seemed like they did it too much. I think it was
I
a
don't
little
know.
overkill.
I was like, I thought it was way better than like Ang Lee's The Hulk, where like just comic book like all these shots and you don't fucking know which one to look at. This was just like, here it is. It's just with a frame. You're watching a picture.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. The next one is where I feel like this movie starts to get good.
The second one
The
was
Meteor.
The lonesome
this is a good
death
one.
of
This one was
Jody
Stephen
Verrill.
King,
Right.
Where he plays like the country bumpkin fuck.
That's Stephen King?
Yeah, that's Stephen King.
God, such a good...
He
I
was
love
so good
Stephen
at it.
King.
Like this is probably his biggest role in any movie that he appeared in.
Yeah.
Like if Stan Lee had a whole 15-minute short to himself, that's what it'd be like. He's out there on his country farm or whatever. A meteor crashes, and he's like, "Oh, Jody Farrell, you nunkhead!" And like he goes and like touches the meteor, kind of burns his fingers, and instantly they just go up to his mouth. And it's kind of like it kind of comes like a fixation to him to like, keep like sucking on the two fingers.
Yeah, because when you get a burn, you want to run it on
constantly-
some water, like, yeah.
I guess, put it on your mouth, whatever. The thing cracks open, and he kind of has this... Oh, before it cracks open, he has this vision of taking it to the university, getting some money for it. It cracks open, that vision is gone, and he noticed his hand is blistered.
Which was a disgusting effect. This one, like, really had you,
it just, looked like a bunch of warts or blisters or something on his fingers. Cans the meteor up, the two halves up, takes it inside, and... like kind of goes on through the night, and you kind of see outside is growing like that weird
Weeds.
grassy weed.
In like the outside story, the dad talks about like people turning into weeds and
Yeah. And he notices this, and like it shows up on his finger, but it looks kind of more like moss on his finger. And he notices on his tongue because he had his fingers in his mouth, and everything he's touched, it's growing the weeds. Like you should remember this, and he's just this country guy who like doesn't know how to deal with it. He's just oh, Jody Farrell, you nunkhead. Look what you've done now. Daddy would be so
why
mad
doesn't
at
he
me.
go to the doctor? Was there a reason?
He was
afraid he's
afraid
gonna lose
he's going to lose his fingers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And and the funny part to me was he was going to take this to the university and get a whopping $200.
Pay off that bank loan.
Yeah, they wanted to give him 50.
Yeah,
And he wouldn't settle for $1 under 200.
And the dream, the doctor's like $50, and he's like, well, 200. Keep counting them dollars.
And then in the reverse one, he's just like,
Look,
where he brings it in and he's like, $200 for a broken meteor?
Yeah, and like
yeah,
starts
yeah.
putting the bills back
I'm going to give
in.
you 2 cents.
And so, he's like scratching his back on the door because this shit is growing all over. And he jumps, the last thing you see is him jump into like a hot bath. And he's like, oh, that feels so good, you nunkhead. And like, he's like, the next morning, like the whole
and the
place
water
is-
doesn't the water like
The water
It basically helps weeds.
makes it grow?
Yeah. Helps it
faster.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, because he threw water on the meteor. And I think that activated.
That's
it
how
was
it
hot,
split
so he
open.
fills it up, dumps it, and that's when it
I didn't
spilled
catch
open.
that.
dumps the blue ooze into the soil and like takes over. So the next morning he's sitting there on like kitchen floor, he looks like Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
out
dude.
of the comics.
He's like straight.
But this
vegetation.
is all practical effects, and it's all
Gets a shotgun,
so well done.
blows his head off, and you're left with like a radio talking about it's gonna be like a bright sunny day, blah blah blah.
He's
and
like,
you
"Oh,
see
you
that the
farmers."
weeds
Tons of
have,
green or something. Like they even say so, and then you see the whole
the
town
weeds it's basically gonna
Started
take
to
over.
spread
making its
everywhere,
way into town.
Yeah,
Which
because
I had
the guy
forgotten
on
about.
the guy on the TV was like doing a weather report, and he said, "Oh, your farmers are gonna love this. We're gonna get lots of rain." And as soon as you hear that, you're like, "Oh, well, there goes that place."
Well, there goes the earth.
Yeah,
That one was pretty funny. I
was
like that
great.
one. And for Stephen King, like I said, he did so good. Especially as like he should play that character in like a full movie.
Yeah.
The third one was
the third one was something that tied you over with Leslie Nielsen.
and Ted Danson.
Ted Danson,
That was
yeah.
a funny one.
See, this one didn't grab me. I liked it a lot, but it wasn't scary.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of eerie at points, but it wasn't super scary.
It just looked like a revenge tale that takes like a supernatural turn.
yeah.
Ted Danson is sleeping with Leslie Nielsen's wife, and you don't really know how they know each other or how him and Leslie know each other or whatever. So Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson opens the door and he's like, I don't know who you are, so you better get out of here because I can bench 300 pounds. It's like, dude, you're like a scrawny stick. You probably have trouble benching 30 pounds, Ted Danson. So Leslie Nielsen tells him, come with me, we're going to fix this, basically, or something.
He's like-
he has a gun on him. Drives to the beach. He has a hole dug. And
Well, he has like a tape recorder, like a tape of the wife begging for help.
Yeah,
He-
oh yeah,
he
so
And
almost-
it's like, if
yeah,
you don't
he
want her
gets
to
him-
die, you need to come with me.
He gets
Yeah.
him to follow, or gets to go with him to this beach. There's a giant hole in the ground, and he's like, "Get in there on your knees, start pulling the sand in, or I'm going to shoot you."
Buries him up to the neck.
And he's like, "You do this, and you will get to see the girl."
What's
Yeah.
her name again?
Well, yeah, whatever her name is. So he does it. He's buried up to his neck, and he sets the TV in front of him, and obviously it's a recording of the girl who's in the same predicament as Ted Danson.
Old school live streaming.
Yeah. And he drives off, and the tide presumably takes him over. Leslie Nielsen's in his house, and
They
he's
show back up as like
drowned
swamp
zombies.
things,
Yeah,
yeah.
swamp zombies. I don't know. And
Fish-
they're like, we're
fish
gonna,
zombies, you know.
we're gonna do the same thing
Ocean-
to you, ha ha ha. And it ends with Leslie Nielsen being buried. But I liked seeing him take on a more serious role. You know, he always does all those spoof movies, Naked Gun.
Yeah.
But still,
Scary
but
movies.
still very
Comedies.
comedic with
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying it wasn't, he wasn't like
yeah.
doing pun after pun, deadpan the camera because it's like a scary movie, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. The fourth one was
The best
The
one.
Crate.
Ooh, yeah, you remember The Crate?
Yeah.
With Adrienne Barbeau, who is John Carpenter's ex-wife?
He's ex-wife
Or
now, but it
ex-girlfriend or
was her
something?
wife.
Which one was she? The obnoxious.
Yeah,
What would
she
you
was
do without
Billy.
me?
Everyone just calls me Billy.
Call me Billy. Everyone
And
does.
Yeah.
her husband was the pasture in the fog.
Yeah, Father
Pastor.
Malone from.
That's past the pasture in the fog.
Pasture.
What'd I
Not
say?
pasture is a field.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I said pasture. Whatever. Anyways, the father Malone or
Father
whatever his
Malone
name is.
from Hal Holbrook or whatever.
He Billy is this annoying chick who's constantly on like the definition of like bitching wife.
Drunk.
She's
bitch
drunk
wife.
all the
Drunk bitching
time.
wife, yeah. And like his friends don't want to hang out with him. He invites this guy for chess, and the guy's kind of like, sure.
No, he goes to chess.
Yeah, he invites his friend to chess.
Yeah, but he leaves Billy to go to. No, you're right. He does go to
Yeah, he
Billy's
invites
house.
the friend
but
over
Billy
for
leaves.
chess. Because she's like, just have him out of here by the time I get home. Jesus, his cigars fucking reek or whatever she says. And so the guy goes to the college, and the janitor is like, hey, I found this crate from like
1812. Or
18
some junk,
yeah, some Arctic expedition in like
Yeah, yeah,
1800 or something. It might have been the same year that Mama was around. I don't know shit. And they pull it out. They open it because it's like chained, nailed shut, everything. There's like that giant gorilla thing in it.
Oh my god, that was
creature?
so
Yeah.
scary. Like
was-
to me, that was like if I saw that, I would immediately shit my
It looked
pants.
like Harambe died and came back as a zombie. So
Dicks out for Zarambe. You know?
Zombie Harambe.
right. Oh, that was a good one.
Zarambe.
And so it eats the janitor, and the guy runs to the main guy's
Well,
house.
he gets a student first, and he tries to get a student to like make sure he's not going crazy. And then the crate
Oh,
gets
yeah.
gets the student, and then that's when he goes to remember his name,
Yeah.
Henry, I think. He goes to his house and tells him what's going on. And he's like, "Oh, all right, Dex, I'll fix it." Goes there, cleans up the mess,
He puts sleeping pills in the guy's drink.
so he can't go nowhere.
Yeah, and because you can kind of see this idea developing in his head, like this thing killed people, huh?
I was gonna say first off, I was
Maybe
gonna say
could,
he has like weird. I wouldn't say weird fantasies. If he lived with Billy, he would probably go do the same thing.
He had
but
completely understandable fantasies.
fantasies of killing his wife.
one of those where like something happens and like he kills her, you know,
And then everybody's
it
like,
cuts,
yeah.
cuts back to reality kind of thing. So you're like, oh, there you
What would you do without me?
Yeah. So he cleans up all the blood and shit, and he calls Billy there upon false pretenses, and she's like, go check it out. It's under this girl under the stairs, whatever.
She needs your help, Billy. What would I do without
She
you?
has like her drink in hand and everything. Like she took it with her.
Yeah,
like,
she literally
It
took
was
it. She made a
disgusting
drink
too.
from
What
the
was it,
road.
like a White Russian almost?
It was like
some milk
and like whiskey.
So she's under there and she's like talking and
terrible.
nothing happens. So that's when he like kind of throws her up against a crate and he's like, yeah, wake up, ah, trying to wake this monster and like nothing happens and he's just kind of left there being stupid.
And
Yeah, you do feel kind of like stupid for him. You're like, man.
She starts to rip into him.
Oh yeah, like starts to pull that nagging bitch wife again. Thing pops up.
It's like a
takes her
Jack in
there,
the Box
eats
almost.
Yeah.
and it's kind of everything he's ever wanted. He chains it back shut, takes it to this
A quarry.
like a quarry. Yeah, drops it like 70 feet underwater, and you know he goes home and he's having a friendly game of chess with the guy, and he's like, "Oh, what happened to it? What if it breaks free?" And he's like, "No, man, it's underwater."
It's
I took care
drowned.
of it.
It's
So
dead.
if you would have saw how I chained it up, you wouldn't worry. And it's like you chained it up just like it was chained before.
Yeah. What'd you do special?
With no nails. Cool. And then you see the thing, like the cage, like break underwater, and you see like his eyes light up, and you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that to me was definitely the
that
best
was
one.
that
pretty
one
creepy.
was.
The final one, which I didn't think.
They're creeping up on you.
I think it was probably the second worst one.
See, I liked it better than Ted Danson's one.
Ooh, really?
Oh man, no, I liked
I
the
don't
Ted
know.
Dance one a lot more. Even though it wasn't scary, there's Leslie Nielsen being, you know, crazy psychotic killer.
With they're creeping up at you. You have some yuppie
He's like a stock
holder.
conglomerate guy. You know,
Fancy
everything
pants,
is everything is
professional
white,
fancy
no
pants.
germs, whatever, and he kills cockroaches. And he's been trying to call someone up there or something to
Take care of his bug problem.
yeah take care of his bug problem. And he's one of those like you show like you do something wrong one time and he fires your ass like
Donald Trump.
yeah. And then like a storm rolls in and there's like a blackout and then like all of a sudden all these millions of cockroaches come out. They like take over, and I don't know because it was like, is it in his head? Is it not in his head? Like what's going on?
He starts killing cockroaches, and then as the
night
scenario goes on, like he just like more cockroaches just keep popping up, and he keeps trying to kill them. They just keep coming back, and he's just ranting and raving about how everybody's a cockroach, everybody wants something, and all this other stuff. And then eventually he ends up getting cockroached. There was
Yeah.
just so many that he just
they
got
take them
swarmed, I guess.
over. I don't know. They look like those little scarab beetles from the Mummy. Like
Yeah.
they get all on you and take over, and then you're just left with like bones.
It was very ambiguous of like if they were real or not. I do get
Yeah,
on
you
that.
weren't sure because then like the lights came on and nothing's there. No
Yeah.
cockroaches, no sounds, nothing. You're just kind of like, oh, that prick is dead.
Well, what
He
really
deserved
threw me off was at the very end, you see him die in a closed-off room where he thinks he's safe. Cockroaches start coming out of everywhere, and he's like, oh, God, I'm going to die. He dies. The room is full of cockroaches. And then the next scene, you see him, and the power gets turned back on. The room's completely empty. He's just laying there, and then cockroaches come out of him. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I was kind of confused.
It's kind of really weird.
But the effect was really good.
Yeah, the effects were really good, and the story was just, I guess there wasn't enough there.
That's
me
the
personally,
problem with
but-
a lot of these ones. You know, you're left with
Yeah.
a lot of questions. Just simply they didn't have enough time.
It was
and
funny, though.
Like VHS, it goes back to the kid who has made this voodoo doll.
Oh yeah, which I thought was
And
interesting.
like the dad is like, ah man, I didn't sleep good. My back, you know, the dickhead Tom Atkins or whatever, his back's like hurting him. And then you see the kid in his room like stabbing this voodoo doll of his dad. Oh, because mom pulls out a shirt from the laundry and it's kind of got like a corner of the shirt missing, and she's like, oh, whatever.
It's the same shirt he wore the night before.
Yeah, toss it aside, and the kid's like stabbing his voodoo doll, and the dad, you know, it's one of those. He's like, oh god, and then cuts to like the comic book part, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not really an overall story of horror, segments of horror.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad. I really like this one. I'm a huge fan of George A. Romero. Out of 10, I don't know. I'll probably give this one probably a 7 as well. Completely different films, with completely different flaws. But like I said, I think I'll give this one a 7.
I'm gonna go 8.
Yeah,
It's definitely unique, and I think that says a lot. Like it's
awesome practical
very
effects.
visual and
Tom Savini did a
auditory
good job.
Yeah, he did.
piece of art. You know, the story is what it is, but yeah, I really liked it.
It's awesome.
I'm gonna give it a 9. I really love this film. Like I've actually bought it just on a whim, not knowing it, never seen anything of it. And I was like, this looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll get a like out of this, and I loved it. So
Yeah, definitely good.
There is a second one?
there's 3.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know that. Number 2 is
Number 2
not
is
worth watching.
Number 2 is horrible.
Is it Romero as well?
No, it's somebody else.
Oh,
But Tom
well, there you
Savini
go.
comes back to play like the actual creeper,
Oh,
and instead of being a skeleton,
yeah.
he's like this actual dude. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting kind of weird.
You're like, God, geez, what kind of budget do you guys have? And so I guess if we'll just keep on with Romero, his film like 20, 30 years later, Land of the Dead, the fourth in the of the Dead series, following Night, Day, and Dawn, or Night, Dawn, and Day. This was a really good one to me. I know, Tyler, you said you weren't a fan of zombie movies, right? But
I am tired of zombies.
you're
Yes.
a little zombied out.
I did like this movie. I liked that the zombies were more of a setting piece than they were the central story.
See,
Does that
and
make
that's-
sense?
Yeah, and that's one thing George Romero always liked about his zombie movies. He said that like the zombies aren't
The plot.
they are not the main characters.
They're the
They
setting.
are they if anything they're just an annoyance. It's like everybody else is.
That's what I
is the
mean by
story.
like
Yeah.
setting. They are
They're just
a part of the environment.
Yeah.
It's like what The Walking Dead has turned into. It was all about they were the main thread of the show, and then all of a sudden it's you gotta watch out for every human you run into.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have different views on The Walking Dead. I'm just totally over it. Like, I can't stand it anymore. I don't know. It got so boring. It was like
Yeah, I don't watch it anymore.
it was like
Yeah, I don't know.
however many episodes each season is of just like waiting for shit to happen, and like we're promising there's a payoff coming. There's a payoff coming. There's a pay. Yep. Oh, season's over. What? Where was
the payoff is next season, I guess.
Yeah.
You got the mid-season, you got to wait 6 months, then you get the rest of it, and you got to wait another 6 months.
So yeah, this film shows that the zombies have started to adapt, started to learn a little bit. They seem to rally around this one dead. I don't know, looks like a Ford plant worker in like a
Yeah, they
jumpsuit.
call him I think Big Daddy.
Do they?
Yeah, because that's like actual his name on his suit.
Oh, okay.
He seems to be just like a serviceman at a gas station.
Like
Oh
a
yeah,
mechanic.
that's right. Basically, Simon Baker is
Yeah.
the main guy. Him and John Leguizamo, who plays this dude named Cholo, they kind of run these like supply runs.
Yeah, like a
Go to
raid party or
towns,
something.
raid everything they can find for the good. I don't think they're out meant to do harm.
It
unless-
doesn't
No,
really
no,
explore
no.
that. Yeah, it doesn't really explore any
Yeah,
like
you-
resistance.
You can kind
or
of tell
anything.
Cholo
Does whatever
would
he
go
wants,
that way.
but-
Yeah, but Simon Baker is definitely kind of the look.
He's good because it's profitable to be good.
Yeah. He does it because
Yeah.
there's money in it, where Simon Baker, Riley, or whatever, he does it because it's for the greater good.
And society in Fiddler's
Fiddler's Green.
Fiddler's Green, that's right, is this kind of sanctuary city, all fenced off with electrical fence and everything.
It's got water surrounded on it by like 3 sides. The only way to it, I think, is a couple bridges or something.
And I think
And
they're drawbridged up.
they're
And of course,
drawbridges.
in a post-apocalyptic world such as this, or as that, not this one we live in now, society has again divided itself into classes, if you will, like a rich class, middle class. Well, it's kind of rich or poor in this one.
Yeah, it's very black and white. I'm sure there was some kind of middle class, but you really didn't get that kind of perspective.
It's Simon Baker's last day on the job, and John Leguizamo, and he kind of has Simon Baker has a bad day because Cholo kind of gets this one guy killed, the new rookie guy who plays that asshole Dean on Degrassi.
Well, in
That's all-
Cholo's defense, he kind of just reached over the counter without even looking.
True. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Simon Baker just kind of like threw it on John Leguizamo, like, oh, you're supposed to be watching him.
But didn't he like knock the cigars behind the bar? Like,
Yeah, he like
John, knocks
Yeah.
him out. Cholo knocks him out, and then he's like, "Kid, pick him up."
yeah. And then the kid like, here, let me hop over instead of walking around like a normal person.
I'll hop over, but like take a peek
Yeah,
Just hop over with your
something.
gun first.
or
Dive head
I don't know
first
how we
there
would
with
have
the
seen
guns.
it out of his peripherals either.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I mean,
so they make it back, and what? Simon Baker, he's got that guy with like the burn mark on his face,
Yeah,
kind of like his buddy. They run.
his name's Charlie.
oh, I liked him a lot.
Charlie. Was that his?
yeah, his name's Charlie. Yeah, in the movie.
They drive. What was it?
Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning.
I love Dead Reckoning.
That was a fucking badass
was a
vehicle.
Dude, that is a
Yeah,
fucking
beast.
vehicle to go into the zombie
Yeah,
apocalypse.
Dead Reckoning
with.
is like this super like like armored like rig, I guess. Got like mounted guns. It's like completely armored. You know, super like steel and
You're very safe inside.
yeah, super. Yeah, this it's a pretty badass vehicle, I suppose.
It's like a pavement train.
Yeah.
We're basically
it's-
going to build this once the zombies.
It's kind of the like leading vehicle of the
It did
raiding group.
confuse me. I was like, what? Are they driving a train? Like,
Yeah.
what's-
It's
It's
kind of, yeah,
pretty
it looks
big.
like a train. It's really long.
Skyflowers.
the skyflower.
And so, yeah, and so the zombies are attracted to skyflowers, which are fireworks. For some reason, that seems to. I thought which was a cool.
I think
thought
they're
that was a cool
Well, I
idea.
think they're
I thought that was
distracted to
pretty
like
interesting.
loud noises and stuff.
Yeah.
So like
Noises,
fireworks is
lights.
just a good way to like.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Get
Like,
a lot of zombies to
What
look
better
one
way to
spot.
visually and audibly attract them? You know,
fireworks.
Yeah, 'cause I
and
never
to
would've
get them
thought of that.
looking up, or even if they wanted, you know, like you're completely
They,
fine
they
moving
can move through the town unseen, basically.
under the protection of the fireworks. So I thought that was kind of a cool,
That's interesting for
cool
sure.
element.
They run across this girl, Agio Argento, I think is her name.
With the dark
Aja
hair.
Argento.
yeah. She was in the first Triple X.
She was awesome.
Actually, her
Yeah, she's awesome in this.
her dad actually her dad is Dario Argento, which is like pretty much essentially the European counterpart to George A. Romero.
That's
He made a
awesome.
lot of horror films over there in
Did
the
the
70s
music
and
for
80s.
Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
and they've worked together a lot too. That's kind of
stared
I
at
think that's
that
why he
poster
put that
a
in
lot.
there.
I
But
I liked seeing the like underbelly of the society, like the gambling and the
Yeah, the like the
zombie
rackets and stuff, so to speak.
cage matches and stuff.
yeah, that was
cool.
pretty interesting to
They
see.
they end up picking her up, and what the Cholo goes to who's Ed
Not
Dennis
Ed.
Hopper. Dennis Hopper is the kind of I don't know leader of the rich or the richest of the
Yeah,
rich.
he plays-
he's Fiddler's Green's like
matriarch,
president,
pretty
if
much,
you
yeah.
will. Yeah, like
He, I guess, was promised a
Hierarchy.
place for all his hard work. He's got enough money, and he goes to Dennis Hopper, and Dennis Hopper basically says, "You're not."
I don't
our
know that
type."
he was promised a place. I think Cholo assumes
I think Cholo
that
just
buying
assumed.
his
Oh,
way
okay.
in is the way in.
Okay, I thought
And so
But you would think,
that's
like,
why it was a surprise.
Cholo
to Dennis
being his
Hopper.
main man, you know, you think he would give him a place.
I agree,
Honestly,
but I don't think.
yeah, you might have been
that was
right.
never Dennis Hopper's intention to give him a place.
Okay,
and
I-
that's why I think it's
Well, yeah,
surprised him.
sure.
Like you could have anything and like girls and money, and you want a place up here. That's a good one, you know.
Yeah, get back down
Even
there
though
and,
there
be
was
done with
clearly
me.
a vacant place next door.
Yeah, he just cleared it out.
He just cleared it out.
So Cholo is pissed off, and he gets two of his buddies, and he's gonna leave. He wants to leave town, right?
He wants to steal Dead Reckoning.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
shoot
And-
Kaufman out of his so-called castle.
$5 million, $10 million.
Yeah,
Several
The money,
million
the
dollars.
money aspect was very odd to me. But I mean, I guess when you rebuild society, money comes back. But it's like,
yeah, kind of money seems like the last of my worry. I'd be like, give me all your goods, maybe, or weapons, or
that's what he should have done. He should have stole a bunch of goods, taken Dead Reckoning, and blew up the tower. You know,
Well,
Got the fuck out
it
of
looks like, I mean, like all Romero films, it doesn't ever explain the zombie origin or anything. So it looks like maybe society's at a point where it's rebuilt enough that maybe I can't imagine currency is worth the same as, you know what I mean, like that it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe that it still means something, and so enough of it will get him whatever. I do agree that he should have stocked up on provisions and things,
yeah, he should have just.
but maybe I can only assume that it's
I mean, he knows how to scavenge. He's part of the scavenging crew.
yeah.
and the zombies, like we said, especially Big Daddy, have evolved to the point where skyflowers are losing their touch on them. Big Daddy basically leads like a horde of zombies all the way to Fiddler's Green, like following where Dead Reckoning took them. And it's one of those, they start like just like going off this like port into the water, and they like got like a Pirates of the Caribbean vibe where they're just like walking underwater.
That was
Because
awesome.
they can't
You
die,
know?
right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can't drown.
Yeah, the lungs
Nothing's
gonna be full of water. They're still gonna come walking.
And they show up at the shores of Fiddler's Green, and something happens where the electrical fences get turned off. Cholo does some. How do? Like
No,
I've-
they're
Cholo
left-
lets them in, but I don't.
Well, they attack some fence or whatever.
like the military
because
base
he's
or
like
whatever.
Cholo has that line where he's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "Don't worry, it's just target practice." And then they scream. And he's like, "What the hell was that? Screaming practice?"
That's funny.
That was great.
Yeah,
That was a great line.
because it was like perfectly cued. And then Brubaker, I think was that guy's name. He shows up and Diary.
Diary. He's the main. He's one of the main guys in Diary, or he's the main guy in Survival, but he shows up in Diary, which those two are kind of connected.
Survival and Diary both
So
fucking
it shows
suck,
up there.
yeah,
But anyways, the zombies get in there, and then Cholo, which this is where I thought he was kind of weird, just is completely fine letting them, like, oh, the zombies are here and they're fucked. That's fine. We're getting out of here. Like, his manpower may have been able to change that. And for guys in military uniforms that still can't shoot.
Yeah, they all got stormtrooper shooting, and it's
They really do,
like dudes, like they're slow moving, they're not running at you.
dude. And they waste so much ammo.
Yeah, they do. They burn through ammo like they got hordes of it, and it's fairly certain you don't.
Yeah, there's a part where like a zombie catches itself like on the fence and it starts to get electrocuted, and dude's like, shoot it in the face, and she wastes like the whole clip trying to fucking take it out. I was like, oh my god, you're wasting too many bullets.
And Simon Baker and them are out on a run because
No,
they show up at the
Riley,
city at
they get
too
arrested.
late.
And then in exchange for their freedom, Riley and them go after Dead Reckoning.
Oh, and they make it back to the city, and the electrical fences stopped the humans from getting it. They couldn't get out because the military base
Trap the humans in.
was
Yeah.
destroyed, and so it trapped the humans
It
in.
did what Riley figured it
either-
would do. Trap them in.
Be electrocuted or get eaten by a zombie.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know. That's kind of a tough
Well,
choice.
and that was
I
another
guess.
thing too, because Cholo was
Electrocution.
originally going to shoot the tower down, and Riley was like, "No, I don't want him to shoot the tower down. You know how many innocent people he's going to kill?" And then they get Dead Reckoning, they get back there, and then by that time it's too late. Like everybody's being munched on.
There's
by
like
that point.
corpses all over the
Yeah.
entryway to that.
And they're just like, just shoot it, just blow
Empty-
them up. Like
empty
we don't have
clip.
time.
And John Leguizamo gets bit, and
Goes
when he,
after
when he shows back up after the Dennis Hopper
Yeah.
in that garage, and Dennis Hopper also has stormtrooper shooting, and gets him. I don't know, just an overall very progressive way for the Dead series to go to. I fully believe it was the last good one.
yeah, the very last
Survival fucking sucked. Diary sucked.
This is the
And that was
only one
another
I've
thing too.
seen.
They kind of backtracked with Diary because they were supposed to be like when the stuff is starting to go,
Right,
you know, when the
instead
world
of
starts to go to
just the
shit. And
next
I'm like,
step.
yeah, it wasn't that great.
See, Night, Dawn, Day, and Land are so awesome, and then the next two both sucked.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just like the cast was awesome.
The cast was really good.
Like Charlie's always like his like just look at me and you can tell it was bad, or just look at me
Yeah.
you can tell I had
Yeah.
horrible nightmares. His partner was cool.
Yeah,
Riley had a lot of like one-liners that kind of
which one?
like
was
everything
Riley?
you said to him. He
The
was always
main
like,
guy?
"Yeah, but this." Like, God, this is really fun, and he's like, "Not as fun as it could be."
Yeah.
So he had a lot of like
I got to get the last words.
get like those finishers where it's like, okay, what are you pissed about right now?
Yeah. Well, Charlie said something like he shoots a zombie and he's like, "Oh, nice shooting." He's like,
Yeah.
"It's good shooting, Charlie.
There's
no
no
such thing as nice shooting." I'm like,
So he's always got
Maybe
one
it's
of
just
those.
brazen,
in his
you know?
mouth.
Like,
I thought that was a good line.
well, it does make sense, yeah. But
thought it was a good one.
I was kind of like, "Hey, man, give him a break." Like,
But I like how he gets the cliche out of the way. He's like, nothing bad ever happened to me. I didn't have some tragedy story, like.
Oh, and then she was like, "I thought nothing bad happened to you," and he was like, "That happened to my brother."
brother.
But I think they're
Yeah,
good lines.
so he's like slamming her down.
he's
and some
got
of
the
them land.
one-liners, but they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Charlie. Every time he takes a shot, he like
Licks his
his
rifle?
thumb and then licks the aiming
The sight?
Is
The
it
sights.
okay? I was not scope.
Crosshair.
The side of his
Crosshairs.
gun, and then he's the only one without stormtrooper shooting. Well, he's got
really, yeah.
He's
He-
got pro sniper turned on all the way.
Somebody shot the little fat man. Chihuahua.
Awesome
Yeah.
movie.
Chihuahua.
Cholo's friends. One of them gets away. Right, he has the car.
Yeah.
After Cholo gets bitten or whatever,
I
One of
forget, I
his-
forget his name in the movie, but yeah,
he takes off.
his buddy gets out.
The survivors were Simon Baker, the chick who drives Dead Reckoning, like the blonde.
Pretty boy.
Pretty boy.
They call her Pretty Boy.
That's
Yeah,
such a cool name.
that's her name.
Yeah.
Okay, I can dig that. That's cool.
Pillsbury.
Yeah.
Dude,
I
he
liked
was
him.
awesome.
Pillsbury. The
So there's some survivors. It's definitely not a mama ending where it's a bad ending. It's
That's
you,
an
you
ending.
got good survivors. They got the vehicle. They're getting away from Fiddler's Green, which is probably not green anymore.
And
Should
they're
be
going
Fiddler's
north.
Red.
Oh.
Burn. And I don't know. Just I really like the style of this. Like I said, like it's progressive. I even like Big Daddy because he kind of takes on like the Bubba role of Day of the Dead.
Day, yeah.
He was obviously taking the step of learning. This kind of completes that. Cool
and he
cast.
even like teaches.
Cool
Kind
cast.
of puts like weapons
yeah,
in their hands.
yeah, that's right. He's like teaching the other zombies how to like
Well, that's one thing.
shoot or
That's
fire
one thing
weapons.
Romero always did from like the start. Like each movie, you slowly start to see the progression of like the zombies starting to learn.
Right.
By day, obviously Bub is like, doing all sorts of shit. Say hello on to leash, And then in the fourth one, like all of them are starting to do it. So it's like, oh God, you might actually have a problem now.
Right.
But it was definitely really entertaining. I really liked it.
This is one of my favorite movies of this one. I'm gonna give this one probably an 8.
I'm gonna go 7.
7.
7.
And I know you're not the zombie.
Yeah.
What was there anything about this that you just overall like? Were you like, God, this is why I don't like zombie movies? Like,
No, I
Other
do
than
think it
just
was
being tired of
it was well done for as like a zombie movie. Obviously, I'm more into zombie comedy. I think like obviously I love Shaun of the Dead and I love Life After Beth. So I just think zombies are funny. They almost don't feel like a horror movie because there's
You can't take them
I guess
seriously.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I did like it though. I thought it was a good movie. Like I said, I like that the zombies were setting instead of plot. Like the actors, I liked everything. 7. It's good. It's a good number, I think.
what about you, Nick? 'Cause you said it's just your favorite, and obviously it was your pick. So I mean,
Yeah, it is my favorite of the 4. Even after rewatching them, even though I did like the 2 that I have seen but hadn't seen in a long time, were above my standards. But this one's definitely my favorite. I mean, Romero, he kind of started it all, and this was just another one in the books for him. He comes out and does what he does best, I think.
Yeah.
and
the
this
best
was
way
the
to put
last
it.
time he did what he does
So
best.
and I've always really enjoyed this. I remember seeing it in theaters. I'm gonna give it a 9.
It's awesome. You give it.
I'm
Derek,
going to give it an 8.5.
It's awesome. Overall rating for this one, like I said, Sinners. It is the last good one of the Dead. movies.
Romero's sort of like magnum opus. Is that the word?
Yeah,
I would say so, yeah.
his kind of
Because-
his, like this is what it kind of accumulated to, and like Survival and Diary was kind of like, well, maybe I'll try and
They're kind of like the Marvel one shots. Like nobody
yeah,
gave
I'm
a
gonna
shit.
squeeze
but,
these
like,
stories
they're
in,
there.
but you know what? I'm just gonna wipe my ass with that.
Well, what
'cause
was
it
really
sucks.
weird is this one came out in 2005, and the last one that came out was like, I think, late 80s?
Day of the Dead?
Yeah, so like it was still
88, 89,
yeah, somewhere in
something
there.
like that.
And it was like, it's a pretty good
That's
gap.
a huge gap.
Yeah, and it still was fantastic.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So I was really impressed.
And so our last one this week.
Probably the most iconic, like the biggest classic of the 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which this was my first time seeing it. I had seen the reboot, which I thought was really good. Have you guys seen the newer one?
I have. It wasn't too bad. I enjoyed
have
it.
not
I thought it
seen
was like in the same realm of like Evil Dead. Like they came out kind of like one right after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a year after. Evil Dead came out. Then like the next year was like the Poltergeist remake, and I thought they were both pretty good.
Yeah, they did pretty all right.
This was my first time seeing this one all the way through in one sitting. Like I feel like sometimes I'd see just the beginning, or another time on
Carol
TV
Ann.
I would see the end.
Carol Ann.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to think of her name
Carol Ann.
earlier because I knew she kind of had like
How
a.
can you not remember? They only said it 500 times.
I was like
Yeah, really.
Beth Ann or Mary Ann or
Carol Ann.
yeah, Carol Ann. It's the Carol part that threw me off. I knew the Ann.
I always
part.
get it mixed up. So I'm always like, Caroline? No, that ain't right.
That ain't right. Coraline.
Carol Ann.
So Poltergeist, 1982. This was a really good film. My favorite of all of them. I can really only think of one complaint of this movie, and it's that the movie starts off and some small stuff starts happening. Right, chairs moving in the kitchen.
That was a good effect.
They're like dancing. They show up. They just pop up on the table in like a second, and then it like just all of a sudden goes south. Like no gradual step. No like someone maybe small getting hurt. Slightly hurt or something. It just jumped right to that night. Tornado was into town. Tree busts through the window. Like
Yeah, it
starts,
wasn't subtle. There was
starts
no
eating the
subtlety.
kid. Like the closet door flies open. Everything in the room is sucked in there, including that little girl.
It does really go 0 to 100.
Yeah,
real
it did, like
fast.
real fast, like pedal to the metal. But the actors were all awesome. I thought it was funny that Craig Nelson and the mom, the first night we see of the movie, not like obviously the first night. He's like sitting there watching TV, and she's just like, she finishes one joint, and then he just like throws the bag of pot at her, and she starts like rolling another one. And
Are you sure it wasn't a cigarette?
Dude, she was
Dude, that was
rolling,
that was
man.
straight.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. The people rolled cigarettes back then.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
This looked like pot.
I was gonna say
because
this to
I
me
thought
was
they mentioned that it was pot.
I don't. I might have missed that part.
like they were like
I was
kind of
I was
giggly
wondering about
and
that.
they were getting real
laughy.
goofy until the kids walked in.
But they were
They're
kind of
"Oh,"
like
and they kinda
goofy
put it away.
parents already.
They
I
tr-
thought
true.
it was a very adorable family all around.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the dad was like very engaged with the kids, and him and the mom clearly loved each other.
And the 16-year-old daughter wasn't one of those. Like she hung out with friends, but she wasn't one of those like. Fuck you, mom. Fuck you, dad. I rebel because I can. Hashtag.
yeah,
life
she was a
sucks.
good kid.
and like the kid like was having like a nightmare, was like scared from the storm, and comes in, and the dad wasn't like, "Get your ass to bed, Tommy."
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Like it's just a fucking storm.
he was like,
Tommy, or
"Here we go,
whatever his
back
name
into
was.
your room to
Ro-
go to sleep."
Robbie.
Robbie, I know start with an R.
Oh yeah, wow, I was pretty close.
So he's just like, look, storm's gonna pass. Just every time you see,
Lightning.
is it lightning? I don't know if he said
Yeah.
thunder or lightning.
He's like, you see the lightning, count it out,
Hear
wait
the
till the
thunder.
thunder
You'll hear
hits,
farther
and
and
you
farther
find out
away.
where it is.
Him and the
then-
wife had good chemistry.
I really
Like
thought
they're
so.
trying to tell the neighbor, and they're both like kind of like,
like,
how
how
do
do
we
we
start cracking up? But then they're like,
Mosquitoes.
this is going down though.
I like how it starts. The movie just starts off kind of funny with the guys watching the game,
that was
and
like the best part.
like
One of
he
the
goes,
best
and they're
parts.
like, "What the fuck, Frank? I got my life on this game." And he's like, "Oh, the neighbor got a new TV. I'm gonna go talk to him." And he's just like, "Hey, Ben, is that the neighbor's name?
I can't remember.
Barry or
He's like,
something. Yeah.
move your set, Ben.
Biff. Yeah, fuck, might as well be Biff. Anyways, and he's like, "Move your set, Ben." And he's like, just clicking it. And he's
Yeah, they're like having
my
a,
kids
like,
want to watch
a
this
clicking
remote
click.
control war.
And Craig Nelson's just like click, 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 click. Just going back to it.
Oh yeah, I
Having
like
exchange.
that. So, yeah, he like pulls back into the house, and all you can see is hand clicking the button. I thought that was
I
hilarious.
love the part where like kind of like how you're saying like they're sitting there and then like Mr. Rogers pops on. That dude's just like, who the hell is this guy? I thought that was fucking hilarious. I'm like, this is awesome.
And then, so after that fateful night, right? The kid almost gets eaten by a tree, which is
That's when
was
you move.
scary.
That's when
Yeah.
you move.
Like I was scared.
Dude,
I'm with Tyler. Like after that
That
fucking
tree
night,
reaches in and grabs my
I
son.
get-
I'm out of there.
I get it took the daughter,
Or take the tree down.
but after
Because I like how the dad said something about that tree's there to protect
It's an old
us.
tree. It protects his house.
It
It's very
protect-
wise.
Yeah.
he's like, I don't like it, Dan.
I was like, no, it's very hungry, and it just sucked up your whole family.
well, yeah, then the tree gets taken by this like tornado that like
Comes out of nowhere.
None of the neighbors seem to be like, hey, I noticed.
It uprooted
Now,
this tree,
correct me
but
if
no
I'm
loose
wrong,
items.
neighbor. Was your tree moving last night? Because your windows busted. Your kid was.
It looked like
Have
for a
eaten.
second your kid was, dare I say, in your tree?
Unless there's a giant
dipping in and
squirrel
out? I don't
trying
know.
to come out. And instantly, right when the daughter gets taken, they go to these paranormal investigators, and he's like,
Very.
he is haggard looking. I mean, he hasn't slept.
Yeah, they all
which is
look
cool
pretty
because I
bad.
feel like a lot of movies don't put enough emphasis on how you would look after a situation like
It's
that.
very Ed and Lorraine Lauren from The Conjuring. Like they come in and like
They do
believe
their-
you, but like take the shit seriously and like
Yeah.
get results.
And then the guy's like, we recorded this one phenomenon, the one that looks like Lando Calrissian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You,
He's like,
couldn't tell to the naked eye, but
This car moved 7 feet and took 7 hours. And he's like, for what? He's like, for the phenomenon to occur. And he's like, opens this door and
that was so
Also,
awesome.
like,
The beds are
shit-
like
shit
spinning
is just
and-
all around this room. And like the look on their faces was probably like, well, see you later, guys. This is too much for me. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. There was a few actually there was another few things I didn't like. How some stuff would happen that wasn't happening, like the guy eating right before that he's in the bathroom or
It's
closet.
afterwards. He like starts to eat the chicken and then like he sees the steak move.
Yeah, the
And he's
steak
like,
is
"What
like
the hell?"
slugging itself, like caterpillaring itself on the table, and you're like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
And then like stuff starts coming out of it, and then he like looks at the chicken wing he's eating. First off, you didn't even ask to get in the fridge. You
Yeah, dude, he's
motherfucker.
just straight
like.
taking
Well,
out
he's
those people's-
he's getting rid of their
I don't care.
haunting.
You
I don't
asked
know.
me to get in my fridge.
I don't know. My house
That's
is
my
haunted, and you're
food.
saving
I
me.
bought it.
Hey, he did get bit by something fucking huge. So I mean, maybe he was just like, I got bit in your house. I'm fucking eating your food.
And then
You
he
know?
goes to like the bathroom or whatever, and then like starts like
Peeling off his
face, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this took a very weird turn." And it's one of those, like, "Oh, wait, that didn't happen," and not, So that,
You ever see Mirrors? Mirrors has some similar shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Mirrors was good. That was almost my choice.
That was
I
that
just
was the
feel like-
only gory part in the whole movie.
it was because he's like peeling it all off. It just didn't make sense to me that like you see physical stuff like the chairs moving, and then you go to this stuff that's like
Intense.
not happening, and it's like in your head. Kind of threw me off a little bit. And then after like that wild night, where they record some stuff, blah blah blah. The old paranormal investigator's like, yeah, he won't be coming back, but I'll be coming back. And Lando Calrissian over here is going to stay with you.
She was very heroic in like the sense of like, I will be back.
Yeah,
She's bringing help.
Yeah, she was very understanding of what this family was going through. Like, they just want their daughter back. You know, like, we haven't even gone to the police, and they're like, look, we're gonna have to show what we've recorded to some people, and they're like, look, just as long as it's not newspapers, 60 Minutes, we're fine. You know, we just want our daughter back. And so, that wild night when they get their daughter back, they have this old lady come in. She's
Mama Munchkin.
like, yeah, like I was like, geez, Oz called. They want their Munchkins back.
Oh my god, I audibly like LOL'd. Like I was
Like, it's like,
oh,
her voice, you know, and she's like, this house is very cursed, you know, and it's just like, oh, you sound like a little, I just want to pinch your cheeks, but you're old. And
I wanted to like pick her up and put her on a shelf, you know, and just
oh, look at you. Like, you're just a cute little thing.
a little wind-up toy.
And she's got some experience with
terribly
this
offensive.
stuff.
Sorry.
And so she's like, look, the closet in your kid's room is the heart of the house. They do this experiment where they number these tennis balls, and Craig Nelson, they open the door and this white light everywhere, right? Whooshing sound.
It's like a portal, pretty much.
Yeah. And they throw the tennis ball in, it comes through the downstairs, you know, and it's covered in ectoplasm type stuff. And, you know, so they're like, okay, this works. Tie a rope to the mom, because the daughter and the mom, I guess, have a closer bond than the dad and the mom, I guess. Sends her through, and she comes out with the daughter, right? It's a happy, it's almost like a happy false ending. Because I was watching it and I was like,
okay.
is this the end of the movie? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, there's this part with the clown that freaks everyone out. Where's the hell is it at? And so I guess it's just later that day. They're all packed up. And I don't know why they even chose to like remain at that house after dark, because at like a certain time I'd be like, nope, we'll be back tomorrow.
That whole part is weird, because leaving, like, it's daytime, and the guy is like, if the kids get tired, they can sleep till I get home. But like, he doesn't imply like, which will be all day from now. Like, it makes it sound like he's just gonna like jet, because they make it clear they're leaving that day.
He's like, look, I got to run to the office. And it's like
we're not staying
nighttime.
here another night, right? And it's daytime.
And it's like,
but then
hey,
she literally goes in, takes a bath, goes to tuck the kids in, and it's nighttime.
Well, the mom, first of all, comes out of the little portal thing with the daughter, you know, and she's got this like Mr. Fantastic burns going on here, like with the gray. And I was like,
I figured part of that was like a shock.
yeah, true. I just thought like, man, why are the burns always gray? Like, how come?
It's weird that it starts there. Yeah,
like, hey, you
better than have a gray patch.
yeah, why did it start at like your widow's peak, or fucking start from the roots of your hair?
It's
Work
probably
its
some
way
sort
down.
of like neurological thing or something.
And so this is like the real meat of the night comes. And while the dad's gone, the woman is getting like Freddy Kruegered up the wall, you know, like Tina, but without the slashing. And the closet has flown back open, and they're both about to get sucked in there. And the girl's bed, which broke the first time she was getting thrown in there, it was like
fixed magically.
all fixed. And
Well, he is like a big real estate guy. He probably just bought a new bed.
probably just stole it from a model house.
So
So he finds out that his house is buried
Daughter's gotta
on
sleep somewhere.
this old burial ground by the guy in Return of the Living Dead.
Bert, yeah.
Was it Frank or Bert?
It's Bert. Because he's like, Frank, Bert here. We have a little
Bert.
problem.
No, it's
Frank. He plays Frank.
It's Frank.
Damn it, I have it backwards. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
geez, Derek.
Yeah, so the dad finds out from this like a boss of his or something named Frank, that the reason these hauntings are going on is because their development that they live in was built on top of a cemetery. So the contractors, which is his company, I think, moved all the headstones and left the bodies.
You moved the headstones, but you left the bodies?
So they have like a pool that they're trying to dig out of the back, like coffins start coming up.
Oh, yeah.
It gets very radical towards one point where it's like quasi like
She's, like, swimming
earthquake,
in
like
bodies.
coffins are showing up and like
They're coming up out of everything.
sort of
yeah.
distinct places, but like sort of random.
Yeah, like they're coming out of the front door. One pops up.
Nobody's like worried about it except them.
And they didn't find any of that when they dug up the pool.
Yeah, which was also weird. But
Yeah, it's like how how did you rebury these things? Because surely you dug I don't know, below 6 feet. And
At
so
some
did you
point, yeah. Was there a
like
basement?
bury these things farther down, or were you just like, fuck it, lay 6 more feet of soil on top of all what? How many acres did you say? 3?
I don't know.
300.
Several.
Some crazy ass amount of acres.
Yeah, they didn't just add.
But I thought the
ground
reason for the haunting was really cool. Like,
Yeah, because he's up on, he's talking to him. He's like, "Look, you can move your house up here. This nice hill had this view." And he's like, "Well, what about the graveyard?" And he's like, "We'll do what we did before. We'll just relocate them. People come see their families.
yeah, and he's
it's
like,
no big
when?
deal."
When did you do this? And he's like, back in 74,
2 or 3 years before they bought their house or before the neighborhood went
section,
up.
whatever. And the guy's
Right
like,
down
"What?"
there.
Yeah. Cool story. It's an awesome film. The effects I thought were pretty cool. I mean, it's of its time.
Well,
Very much so, yeah.
see, I always hate when people get all elitist and like, old horror movies are better and new horror movies are shit. And like, the more old horror movies I watch, I kind of see why people say that. Like, obviously the special effects are not that great. Like the hand coming out of the TV and stuff. It's very
Right.
Ghostbusters proton pack
Yeah.
ish.
I felt like that about the creature standing in front of the door.
Yeah.
Very Ghostbusters.
Like the whirly thing in the ceiling. It
Yeah.
definitely looks like it's just layered over the film.
Yeah, and you got to do what you can do with the time. But I really wish newer horror movies would take as much practical effects as possible because it really does make a difference.
I was gonna say, me personally, practical effects makes it.
Like those beds spinning and Poltergeist and stuff. It's like, and like it almost wasn't it like one shot where she like pushed the chairs in and then they move the camera down to the girl on the floor. And then they move it back up, and the chairs are like set up, like stacked. Like
yeah, she goes, picks up like some dishes, turns around, walks away, and then she literally like turns around from the sink, and they're all stacked up, and she's like freaking out.
Yeah, so like the effects I thought were really good, except for the special effects, and I think that needs to be utilized a little more in modern horror movies. They actually do it in Conjuring 2, which none of you have seen, but me, I think. Like so far as to like someone tweeted at James Wan saying like, "Oh, if this part would have been practical effects, it would have been way cooler." And James Wan was like, "It was." Like he did it so well that they thought it was special effects.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, so I guess I just want to say shout out to James Wan.
I know Spielberg co-wrote and produced this film. I heard when he was watching the final cut, I heard it like freaked him out. Like I heard he had to. Another one was like, stop it, kind of,
Come back to it.
yeah, gather
Regroup.
himself a little bit and then come back to it. And I was like we said when we were watching, I think it was Paranormal Activity that he mentioned that on. It's like, dude, if you can have that effect on Spielberg, I mean,
his
he's not
own
known
writing
for
had
horror.
that effect on him.
Yeah, like he's not
That's
known for
nuts.
horror,
Yeah.
so it ain't like
That's really good
doing that to
writing.
Romero.
you wrote it so well that you scared yourself.
Yeah, I don't know how I could do that.
Yeah, if
But
you
maybe he just knows himself so well he knows what he's scared of.
But you look at what else this director's done, and besides the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's like shit be horror movies.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
Nothing but shit be horror
low level
movies.
horror
Then
movies.
he gets to say he worked with Steven.
Yeah, that's why I was like, hey, accomplishment in itself.
Well, I was gonna say on that note, I actually just read something about it the other day. Apparently, Spielberg actually had a lot more influence in this movie than you originally think. Like, in a quote that he gave, he basically was like, "Tobe Hooper is not a take charge kind of director." So
he had to kind of direct him. He directed the director.
Basically, yeah. He's like, he gets the
He's
credit.
like whispering in his ear. He's
but
like,
I did.
"Hey, tell that
most of the
extra.
work."
Tell that extra to stand over there.
Right? Yeah.
He's facing
And
the wrong way."
it's so cool. It's so cool to be like, wow, man, you had a lot more hands on with
This
your
was-
movie than I thought.
This was one of Tobe Hooper's earlier, first films.
Yeah, because he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I
think he did
this,
like
and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And then that was
he might have like a
felt the
shit
major
TV
radar.
movie somewhere between them or something. This is one of his
Yeah.
first films. But yeah, I could totally see Spielberg being like, hey, tell Craig T. Nelson that his character needs to say this line. Hey, Steven said, I, clearly the director, said, it's Craig, that you need to...
You did never get to the clown at the end as well.
Oh, right. So this
Did we talk about that?
No, this is the part I was talking about. The false ending kind of threw me off. The creepiest part of this movie was not the ghosts. It was clearly that clown thing. And you can kind of tell in the beginning there's foreshadowing because the kid's like staying up at night and like throws a jacket over it. do you do this every night? Because if you do,
Put that shit
get
in the
that
closet.
fucking thing out of there.
Yeah. Well, and he missed. Usually he throws it on the clown. This
Yeah.
time he misses, and he's just like, I'll leave it alone. All right.
And
Yeah.
then he hears like this
The jingles.
creepy. Oh, the jingles. Yeah, that's probably the clown's name. Fucking psycho thing. Here's like a little jingle, and he looks up. The clown's gone, and the kid, I will give him this, has some serious balls because he looks under his own bed. Whereas I'd have been like, if I just cover myself with a blanket, I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be fine. But he's like looking, like instantly, like looking all around the room, like, where could this thing have gone? Doesn't look on the floor by the chair. Doesn't look. Maybe his sister has it in her bed. Yeah. He's instantly looking all around the room, like it could be anywhere. And then under his bed, and it's not there. Camera pans back up as he comes up. Bam! This thing with
Right
evil
there.
face just
Oops,
takes
pile
him under.
surprise.
Oh man, I was like, "Yep, I'd need some therapy."
I was gonna say, I do
Yep.
gotta say, he ended up ripping that thing apart with his bare hands. I'm like, good for you, kid. Like, I would have been freaking out still.
And then the dad comes home right as all the shit's going on. They get the hell out of there, and the oldest daughter, comes home right as the shit's going on. And you got to be like, "Oh, okay, you got your little free pass there. You didn't get to experience all the shit."
Yeah.
Overall, an awesome movie. I'm going to give this one probably a 9.
Top one, huh?
Yeah.
You did say that though, yeah.
This is my favorite of what we watched. Not that the others, like I said, I loved them all, but this one, I can definitely see how it would scare the shit out of some people back then. I'm going to give this a 9.
This is one where I'm kind of about to contradict myself because I did say Creepshow is probably my favorite. But I am going to give this one an 8.5, which is more than I gave Creepshow. I do think it's a better movie, but Creepshow just stylistically was better,
Right.
I guess. But, I do. So I guess I will say Poltergeist was the better movie.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
This is pretty good. Nick, what about you?
I'm gonna slap it with an 8. Solid film, first time viewing, beginning to end, completely. Not the bits and pieces run that I've always had. Sort of the like mystery surrounding it too, and it's like productions, like 5 deaths and 1 near death is crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think right after this one, the oldest sister's boyfriend killed
Yeah,
her.
her ex-boyfriend killed her.
And the youngest daughter died. Was it after this one or number 2?
After 3.
After
after
three
third-
after 3, yeah, misdiagnosis, yeah.
That is crazy, man.
I know you said that. I think you told me, and then I
Yeah.
read about it today.
Shout out to Craig T. Nelson being Mr. Incredible.
Always
So-
the
he was-
man.
he was pretty
He's
awesome.
just enjoyable.
Yeah, and I don't know. He was good in Blades of Glory. He's good in.
He's funny.
Coach.
He's serious. He's like scary when he yells.
yeah.
Good voice, great voice.
Awesome. Everything about this movie, I really loved the casting. The kids did awesome. Even that creepy little munching girl, psychiatrist chick, or demon witch doctor thing, she was cool.
Oh man, sorry. I know we kind of skipped her, but the scene where she has the kind of the one-on-one with the mom, and then she calls the whole group in, and she's sort of giving the prep speech before they go in and do battle, was really awesome. I was really in tune to
Yeah.
Well, let's hear. I want to know what's going on. And
her plan of attack was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though she had almost a Christopher Walken, broke her speech up at weird points that I was like, is this a memorization thing or what is going on?
Just complete.
But I was
thought.
really I think I even went from lounge position to gamer position. What's going on here? Tell me more.
Yeah, okay,
I'm
all right.
listening. Talk to me.
Shit's about to get real right now. Yeah.
And it was a lengthier scene too. It wasn't a quick. We're gonna go get your daughter back. We're gonna get Game the Demon, and
Yeah, because she pretty much, like you said, gives them hey, this thing knows
all
what
but
you're
has
scared
Venn
of.
diagrams and pie charts of X's and O's and know what your role is.
I did get 2 laughs at the end. First one being, the daughter shows up and they're like, get in the car. And the kid is like, drive away, Dad, drive away. And it's like, wait for your sister to get in the car. They drive away. So they don't even know when they leave that the house is not there no more. They leave before that happens.
Yeah, they leave before it happens, but in the sequels, they find out that it gets sucked into a portal.
Yeah,
which is
I
kinda
mean,
weird.
I'm just saying in this one, they totally go to that
Yeah.
hotel.
Leave the
and
TV
they,
outside.
They roll the TV outside.
That was a good one.
And then so the whole time I was
that
like,
was awesome.
they don't know their house is gone.
Yeah.
I for one, okay, take the house, I get it, but I'd be like, bastards could have left my Xbox,
Yeah, I think at that point they're just like, fuck it, we're out, we're
Yeah.
good, we're alive, we don't care, we're just out of the house.
I'm gonna go kick my boss's ass more tomorrow for giving me this house.
Have you? I was gonna say, have you guys ever seen the second or third one?
No.
Don't watch them. It's literally the Quaker State oatmeal guy chasing Carol Ann around the whole time. It's horrible.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's bad.
But the remake is in my opinion.
Remake's
really
not bad. It's not too bad.
So Sinners, we had 4 awesome movies. I liked all of our picks this week. I think we all did. I think we thoroughly enjoyed these. If you haven't seen them, go see them. If you have, watch them again. Like I said, this is our last week of horror for a while, I think. We had an awesome month. Yeah. So share, like, spread the love any way you can.
Tell your friends.
The Cinamen greatly appreciate it.
Cinamen.com, Cinamen.com. Check it out.
And, just don't be a dick.
Sports podcast.
I haven't undressed you ever, but I want to.
I undress you with my eyes every day. Every single day.
I undress. Pass. Derek, your turn. You go
Don't
say
look at
something.
me.
I was going to say something witty and fun, but unfortunately, I'm not Tony Stark.
You just look like him. You just play him in podcasts.
You come.